Hello, my brothers and sisters, and welcome to another episode of Off the Beaten Path, the show that looks at paranormal events both historically and in modern-day times. As always, I'm your host, Rev.Hagen, and as always, we'd like to welcome our listeners at SCRMradio.com. That's Scream. Radio.com for all your paranormal and horror needs. Scream Radio is the only 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, 365-day-a-year horror radio station on planet Earth. Thank you very much. Love being a part of these guys. We are growing every day. We've got not just this fantastic show, thank you very much, but we've also got horror reviews by who? Oh, yes, that's right. Reverend Hagen's Horrific Cinematic Dissection is also on this station. You've got fantastic creepypastas, amazing interviews, incredible music. I could go on, and in fact, I just may, but not today. Today, we've got some a really cool subject, I believe, because it's something that I have loved since I was a kid. We're going to be talking about a superhero, not superheroes in general. And I know, before you dive off of this channel right now, I know we are inundated right now with superhero stuff. The Marvel universe on the big screen, the DC universe, right? The cinematic universe for both. The CW for DC. We've got one show after another for Marvel characters, from Netflix to Fox. I mean, we are pounded. But when I was a kid, that was not the case. And I loved superheroes from a little kid on. I think I got my first cape from my mom that she made for me when I was 3 or 4, living in Boca Raton, Florida. We were right on the Intercoastal, and I'd put my cape on. I'd run around, and I'd run down at the dock because we were right against the water and give my parents a heart attack. That was one of many capes that my mother made for me. I think my last cape was, well, let's see, I'm 52, so 39. I don't know. So anyway, absolutely obsessed from a very young age with superheroes, but not now. It's very popular. When I was growing up, it was not. Wearing a cape could get you killed, or at least a good beating from the bullies in the neighborhood. Let me tell you. But did that stop me? No, it did not. In my heroic stand for superheroes, thank you very much. So imagine my surprise when I'm watching a fellow YouTuber, this guy Dark Matter, give him a shout out. He has got great, really creepy stuff on there, but some really cool stuff too. And he was doing a show on possible real life superheroes, right? Well, you got my interest because of who I am, but I take a lot of the stuff with a grain of salt. And he mentioned four different possible superheroes, but this one not only caught my eye, but drove me crazy. And before I go any further, I have to introduce somebody that I've never introduced before. She's at the beginning of every show, but this is my girl, Lily. She's just so sweet, and I love her so much. She has been a lifesaver emotionally and mentally, because frankly, the Rev's got problems. But this is my girl, Lily. She's gone with me on almost every investigation I've done since I've gotten her. She is 6 pounds of dynamite, let's be honest. Lily, Lil Bell, my gal. The only female that will put up with me for any length of time. Lily. All right, off with you. Jump into bed, have fun. So, where was I? Ah, yes, watching Dark Matter's show, right? All right, you can come back up. Come here. Come on. I'm dealing with my dog on a show. I can't even believe this. I'm watching the show, Dark Matter, 4 possible superheroes. One totally caught my attention, though. This guy he talked about called Pyrrhic, which meant Springer or Springing Man in Czechoslovakia. Now, I had never heard of this before, and I was blown away that I'd never heard of it, because I usually hear of these off-the-wall little theories, doing weird research most of my life, right? So I dove into it. I didn't just take his word for it. I dove into it and looked him up and tried to see what I could figure out about a possible real-life superhero. What the heck? And I was blown away by some actual evidence of of a superhero. So we're going to take a look at that right now. So get this. This guy's name was Pyrrhic. And since this is my show, before I get into him specifically, we're going to give you some historical context. Now, I hope that doesn't drive you crazy. I know history can be very dry and hard to swallow. I find history amazing. I am enamored with history. I think it's one of the things that really, grinds my gears, gets me going, for lack of a better term. But I am not a historian. I'm a history buff, and there's a huge difference, and I'll tell you what I'm talking about. I have a couple of friends that are brilliant, that have the kind of mind that can retain facts and minutiae that are mind-boggling, right? And their passion happens to be history. So when you start talking about history around these guys, they will go off on these tangents of, well, actually, it was the cousin of Duke Ferdinand that led to this, that led to that, with the pressure coming over here from this party that was prevalent at the time. But if you look at the economic status of the neighboring country, which had a lot to do with it, your mind just starts spinning. At least mine does, because frankly, my brain does not work that way. I'll blame it on a misspent youth. I did a lot of way too many recreational pharmaceuticals in my youth, and I'm paying the price for it now, if I'm being honest. And I'm radically dyslexic. Okay, so I don't have one of those brains. But what I try to do with this stuff is bring at least some fun with the history that comes with it. So historically, this is what was going on. It's World War II. So yes, it's the Nazis again. But it's not their devious devices that we're going to be talking about like we did in the Nazi Roswell incident not too long ago. In this episode, the Nazis invaded Czechoslovakia. It was of course, World War II was a bloody and horrible time, and there was horrible and bloody fighting all over the continent, several continents, but a lot in Europe. And the Nazis took over Czechoslovakia and occupied it between 1938 and 1945. Now, while that is horrible, it was very advantageous for them to do so because of the arms and ammunition factories that were prolific in Czechoslovakia at the time. And of course, the Nazis took those over, and when they did, they ran it like slave labor, like you think that they would. They ran the whole country kind of like that. But they cranked out tons of arms and ammunitions for their war effort, right? For the Axis war effort, but mainly for themselves. Any dissension at all was taken, as you can imagine, was slapped down hard by the Nazi regime. But because of this, the estimated amount of weapons and artillery that these guys produced, and let me read some of this to you. Almost 2,200 field cannons, 469 tanks, 500 anti-aircraft artillery pieces, 43,000 machine guns, over 1 million rifles, almost 115,000 pistols, about a billion, that's with a billion rounds of ammunition, and 3 million anti-aircraft grenades for the German forces. That is huge. We're talking 1938 to 1945. Yes, it was horrible that they did this. I'm not advocating their invasion of Czechoslovakia at all. I'm simply saying from a military standpoint, it was a very smart move. If they hadn't done this, I think it's an almost guarantee that the subsequent conquest of Poland and France would not have taken place. So, that's what was going on, all right? And about this time, now get this. Let me get into this a little bit more about Czechoslovakia. I'm so sorry. While this is going on, one guy, his name was Edvard Beneš, kept kind of a secret government going, his government from Czechoslovakia, right? And started an underground movement, right, that would do guerrilla tactics against the Nazis and then bail, right? They kind of culminated in this thing called Operation Anthropoid, If you hear a cat crying in the back, it's my roommates. They got this old cat, Draco. He's the greatest cat. I'm just a bit allergic to cats, so he's not allowed in my room, and occasionally he shall cry. So let's get back to Czechoslovakia. What's going on here? Operation Anthropoid from the rebels of the Czech rebels, right? This was an assassination of SS leader Heinrich Himmler's deputy protector of Bohemia and Moravia, thank you very much, Reinhard Heinrich. And he was assassinated by this group of people. Hitler was furious, no doubt. He wanted 10,000 people randomly taken in Czechoslovakia and executed in a bloody retribution for what happened. What actually happened was almost as bad. He basically razed 2 cities to the ground, or just absolutely destroyed them. Trying to find the name of those cities here for you. Ladis and Lazaki were literally taken to nothing, destroyed completely. All the men over 16, any male over 16, I should say, was assassinated, was killed on the spot, shot. Everybody else was taken to concentration camps. Ouch. Lord, the Nazis. So basically what happened is over 1,300 people were killed on the spot, and over 10,000 people went to live in the concentration camps. So all this stuff's going on, right? And while this is going on, this guy starts showing up at night in a black outfit with a black mask on and red eyes. And they call him Pyrrhic for his ability to jump. Apparently, because Pyrrhic, remember, means springer or springing man. This guy was said to jump from rooftop to rooftop, over buildings. He was said to jump over the river Vltava, the Vltava River at its widest point, right? And they said when he flew like a shuttlecock. Now, you filthy animals, I know where your head is going. What a shuttlecock is the birdie in badminton, right? But that arc, that's how he was supposed to jump, right? The arc like a shuttlecock, you filthy animals. And make this screaming noise, this screaming high whistling noise as you went. Now, he did not start off as a superhero. Oh, no. This guy apparently was killing people and raping people. The Czech people, he was no hero to the Czech people. They were terrified of this guy, to the point where they refused to go to their night shifts at the factory making those arms and ammunitions that we talked about earlier, right? Now, this is actually in Nazi reports at the time. They would not put a report of something that they had no control over, because they were real big on that kind of thing. Something like that in their reports, unless there was some basis to it. Okay? Now, I know what you're saying, Rev. Are you telling me that this guy was for real? I don't know, to be honest with you. But this is what's reported, okay? So he would jump in, do horrible things to people, and they could not catch him because of his amazing ability to jump over, get back on top of the roof, and get out of there. Amazing stuff, right? Well, a few months after his initial appearance is what I can get. There's a lot of differing reports on this, but a few months after his initial appearance, he starts to go after the Nazis. And I have my own theory about why he did this, right? I had this theory that as this guy is walking without his super costume on, he's just walking down the street as a Czech guy, right? And he hears some Nazi officer saying, "Oh, this Perac, if he touches the Nazi party, if he touches one of us, we will destroy him," right? That's my own fantasy about how he turned on the Nazis. But turn on the Nazis, he did. He started attacking Nazis instead of the people. In fact, he would save people that were being harassed by the Nazis. And initially, it was just, you'd hear reports, he was almost ninja-like. He'd come in, he'd slit some throats, and then he'd bail, right? But then after a while, the story started getting a little more crazy. Now, is this just human nature that always seems to happen? I don't know. All of a sudden, he's this amazing guy at hand-to-hand, especially knife fighting. He is got flames coming out of his arms, taking down the Nazis, right? He's stealing plants from the CKD factory in Viscony. They even said that he was responsible for the guy's assassination. It was no longer Operation Anthropoid. It was Pyrrhic, right? So this guy's legend was just huge. It got to the point where he was literally anything that happened to the Nazis at all, flat tire, you know what I mean? Any bad thing that happened to the Nazis was credited to Pyrrhic. And he became the symbol of hope, believe it or not, for the Czech people. Which, even if the legend is true or not, that part is true. People, rallying behind the idea of Pyrrhic and not taking crap from the Nazis and fighting back was a very real thing that happened in Czechoslovakia. And then towards the end, as the momentum for this guy came and the war ended in 1945, he disappeared as mysteriously as he appeared. We didn't hear about Pyrrhic anymore. We didn't hear about Pyrrhic, at least in Czechoslovakia. But they kept his legend alive. I didn't know any of this. They kept his legend alive with comic books and TV and cartoon shows. I had no idea any of this stuff existed. The other fates of Pyrrhic, right? This guy's legend grew. In fact, if you're watching this on YouTube, instead of just listening to it on SCRMradio, you'll notice the pictures that I've been flashing of Pyrrhic come from the comic books that were written after the war on Pyrrhic taking on the Nazis. Unbelievable. Maybe it could be me, it could be my brain, my adult brain not picking up on any of this, the story of this guy, or it could be that America's so insular that if it's not a really cool American superhero, we don't want to know about it. If it's not DC or if it's not Marvel, it ain't crap, blah, blah, blah. Who knows? I don't know. Fans are very fickle, and I know I can be myself, if I'm being honest. But I thought that was really amazing. Now, the crazy thing is that this story is very similar to a guy called Spring-Heeled Jack in England in the 1800s. Who would bound around, but this guy had no reputation as a good guy at all. He supposedly had springs in his feet, metal claws on his hands, and just would do horrible things to people and then spring away. Had the ability to spring away. Who knows? Maybe Pyrrhic's outfit was designed after the Spring-Heeled Jack guy. I don't know. Maybe it was his great-grandson that had somehow gotten to Czechoslovakia, and, now he's taking over his grandfather's obsession, kind of like a Green Goblin gig coming from Spider-Man, Green Goblin to Hobgoblin. Who knows? I don't know. And I know my geek flag is just flying like you would not believe on this thing. I was so stoked when I found it, I can't even tell you. There's another right now, and I'm going to flash a video up on a very short video of it in a second here. It's supposed to be a superhero that's going on right now in Russia, okay, where he's beating up drug dealers, horribly, and setting meth labs on fire and that kind of thing. And the videos of this caped guy walking out of a burning house. Let me show that to you now real quick. Yeah, for me it was a little too Batman-esque. The guy looks just like Batman walking out of there. But what the hell do I know? It's one of the crazy things about the paranormal and gathering evidence of any kind is that if it looks too good, people don't believe it. Oh, that's too real. Hello, but that's a real thing. Well, people go, well, no, I'm sorry, that's too real. I don't buy it. And I can be one of those guys. No, it looks too good. No, come on, man. It's because it's real, right? Who knows? I don't know. That's the story on Pyrrhic. I wanted to touch on one other thing today, before too much more time went by. This last Thursday, I believe it was the 28th of of September was the passing of somebody that meant a great deal to me, that changed my life. His name was Raymond Buckland. He was a big deal in the Wiccan community, in the witchcraft community, and a lot of other communities, if we're being honest. He was a prolific writer. One of the books he wrote was called The Complete Book of Witchcraft, which was given to me by a stranger in a bookstore when I was way over my head in some heavy occult stuff at a young age, at 18 or 19, which to me is a young age. A stranger came up to me out of nowhere at San Jose bookstore and said, I think this is more your speed. And it changed my life. It gave me responsibility and hope, and I would not be a Wiccan priest if it were not for Mr. Raymond Buckland, Papa Buckland. I got a chance to correspond with him later in life through Facebook, of all things. I sent him a message on Messenger before it was a separate app, way back when Facebook was a little younger and he was on there. And we started chatting back and forth, and it was, for me, an honor. I know some people have some negative things to say about Ray Buckland. I would hope that you, during this time, if you could just hold off a little bit on the negative stuff. He just passed, all right? And those of us that are mourning him are a little raw about it. Because we can be just as opinionated as anybody else in the Wiccan and pagan community. And I think it does a disservice to everybody when we start, for anybody, not just for the pagan community, but when we start thumping somebody that recently passed. It's very insensitive to their family and their friends, no matter who they were. So anyway, I wanted to make sure that I got that out about Papa Buckland, because he was a major figure in my life and changed my life in every way possible. Well, this is way back in 1986 when all this stuff was going on for me. So amazing man. So that's pretty much our show. I really hope you guys enjoyed it today. I love doing these things for you, as always. Please, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to tune in to SCRMradio.com. That's Scream. Radio.com for all your horror and paranormal needs. Please like and subscribe to this video. I'm going to be saying this at the end of every one of my Off the Beaten Path gigs. I have a Patreon page if you'd like to become a patron of this particular channel and help us realize what this page can be, or even just share the fact that we have a Patreon page would be great too. The link is down below. If you have a story that you would like me to cover, even if it's one we've already done and you don't think we've done it justice, please leave it in the comments below, or you can always email me at rev.hagen@gmail.com. That's rev.hagen@gmail.com. A story that you'd like me to cover. If you're having some paranormal problems that you're not sure what to deal with, if you're in my area, I'd be more than happy to help you out. If you're not in my area, believe me, I know a network of people around the country and around Europe as well. If you're having some problems, that we can get you in touch with and try to get you some help with that. So please email me that as well. As well as, I haven't said this before, as well as any evidence that you think that you've captured. If you got a picture or a video or something of what you think is a paranormal event, be it UFOs, be it ghosts or critters, email it on, and we'll air it on the show. Take a look at it. So that's pretty much it. As always, once more, like and subscribe. Patreon page, links down below. And my brothers and sisters, as always, keep those heads up.